Okay, so just give us name and position again, just for the camera.
Okay, I'm Henry Krausz. I'm member of the World Motorsport Council of the FIA, which is the International Motorsport Federation. I'm also vice president of the NACAM FIA zone, which are all the countries belonging to the FIA, from Mexico until Ecuador, including Central America and the Caribbean. And I'm president of the Dominican Motorsport Federation.
Okay.
Also, I'm steward of the meeting for all the World Championship events of the FIA. And working for over 20 years in all these things.
Right. Okay, so Mr. Krausz, let's start with, I know last time we had a NACA meeting in Trinidad, it was a couple of years back at the Hilton. Where you think you've seen us come as a country with motorsport so far? What's your sort of assessment of our position, if you will?
Well, as a country, I've seen it has grown very much.
Yes.
Very much. In the positive way. In the motorsport, I cannot say the same. Because you are lacking of the most important thing, which is a structure or structures to develop your sport.
Right.
Starting from karting, where you start to breed the new boys or girls into the sport, and then they go onto cars, and this is where most of it stops.
Okay.
Because you have had several small facilities which were provisional, not with a high grade.
Right, like Camden.
Yes, you could do some sport, but not as efficient as it should have been. And this is really very important. I think now, with the growth of your country, you must have facilities not only for motorsport, but for all the sports to grow in this way also. Because sport is good, but motorsport has a special thing, which is a sport that everybody would like to be a driver.
Yes, that is true.
See, everybody, since a kid or a big one, when they see a nice car, a sports car, they get impressed and they would like to be sitting in there.
Right.
And sometimes you dream about driving one of those cars. So, when a fan is looking at the race, he is feeling it, and especially if they have their favorite drivers, they really live it.
Right.
So it's very important. I don't say that you have not had good drivers. You have had good drivers.
Yes.
And they have a big merit to have become good drivers without having the facility to make themselves better. Some of them had the luck to have some sponsors or money by themselves, and they could go to other countries and show their skills. And they have shown good skills, most of the ones that have participated overseas, but there are very few.
Yes, I think we just have basically Sheldon and John Powell right now who are currently doing well overseas.
Yeah, well, Daniel also
Daniel.
was taken very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not a professional driver. Only he has a business to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, for motorsport, when you have a good facility,
Mm-hmm.
you will see that you will have more and more drivers that will get merits
Mm-hmm.
nationwide and internationally.
International.
So I'm here now because of this conference for sports and tourism
Yes.
and all this, and this is very positive because really motorsport brings a lot of tourists to good events.
Okay, so you think today's event was really a step in the right direction?
Listen, for example, Daniel, and before that, Silborn Clark with his colleague driver from San Lucia, I think.
Yes, I think it was my Lucia. Is it Mr. Braveboy? Keep Braveboy.
I know the name. I mentioned him last night, but
Bex.
Beck, yeah.
Bex. Oh, Bex.
Yeah, Bex.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bex
yeah.
Gonzalez. Right.
Bex Gonzalez. They were participating. A few years ago, we had a very successful championship called Marlboro GT of the Americas.
Okay.
And they were very, very competitive. And the races were very good with drivers from United States, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Panama, mainly, Venezuela, Colombia, and all these countries had good races of this championship, except Trinidad.
Oh man.
You see? So that's why.
So that's why we need a facility.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And what do you think about? So you think that motorsport and other sports?
Excuse me that I interrupt you.
Sure.
Yesterday I learned that a group of drivers from Trinidad went to San Lucia and did all kinds of things there, winning all the prizes and setting up records.
Track records, yes.
And can you imagine if they would have a facility here? How many more things they can accomplish? And some drivers also go and participate in Guyana and
Barbados,
but these people cannot come here. So it's a one-man show, like you say, you know.
It does kind of
one side show in a way that all the people can acknowledge and see good drivers from Trinidad, but the Trinidadians cannot see them.
Only when they go away and the news comes back, then they see them.
And you know, all these events bring a lot of people to the tourist scene because, well, when you go to a race, the driver goes with his family, his crew, and mechanics, some sponsors. The sponsor invites guests. And when you see it's a whole amount of people moving because of the race, then it's good for your country to have all these visitors because they will have to find a place to stay.
And you have to eat something. And
of course, and then there are some of the drivers that the wives don't let them go without they coming, but they don't like too much the races, so they go shopping.
Right.
So you know, it's a whole industry there.
Chain reaction.
Of course. And better the event you can present, more people will come. And also depends on the publicity and all this, but then it comes another aspect, which is TV. You can see some countries like Venezuela, which is very near from here, because I remember I was one day in one of your beaches in a boat, and I saw the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah.
And it's so near from here. And these people have really done a great job promoting their motorsport.
Okay. And
then they take the better ones and they sponsor them with their oil company. And like Pastor Maldonado reached Formula One already.
Right.
And you can see this Formula One car with the big name of Venezuela in the car. And this is in TV. And I don't know if you knew, but every Formula One race is viewed by 550 million people. And all these people are looking many times during the race the sign of Venezuela. Then it's not only Formula One, they have drivers in Indy, they have drivers in NASCAR, they have drivers in FIA GT1 World Championship. And like I was a steward the last month in Nogaro when the FIA GT1 Championship started in France. And for my surprise, I see a Ferrari with Venezuela big written there.
Okay.
So it's and this is also televised, and it's a good promotion. So I think Trinidad and Tobago has a very big opportunity to promote their name worldwide. So people will know where Trinidad is. And you are very lucky in your country that you have a good income in the economy with your oil and gas. But tourism is very nice, and you have very nice beaches here because you are an island. You are two islands. So you can promote many things. And all these televised events, you have always agreements with the international TV, and they will promote your country. So really, I don't know why it has not happened before.
Yeah. Well, that's the next question I want to get to. What do you think it's going to take to bridge that gap for us? Because some of the people seem to think that maybe they don't need the FIA or it doesn't help them right now. But perhaps that is because they don't know how it can help.
I will ask you something. Trinidad and Tobago is part of the United Nations.
Yes.
Why?
I guess because they have a number of issues that all of the countries would like to have in V1.
Because they get support, and when they have a problem, they get guidance and all this. And if there is a natural disaster, they come and evade and things like that.
They will help, yes.
So I will tell you something. The FIA is like the United Nations for motorsport.
Okay.
So I mean, if it's a world institution that you have about 140 countries members of the FIA in the world, and every time growing, because the world is expanding in countries, because they separate the lands, and like the former Soviet Union now, how many countries
Oh
are
yeah,
there?
there's a
you
bunch
know?
of countries there now.
So, you know, it's,
Yeah.
and they want all to be part of the FIA. Why?
Right.
Because if you don't have rules,
And structure.
it could be the structure, yes, but if you don't have rules, nothing grows.
Right.
Because then it comes the personal benefits and things like that, and this people like to be in fairness. And this is what the FIA is doing, that supplies the rules for all the championships. And with the International Sporting Code, there is no mistake there. And everybody's treated the same way. And those who don't want that is because they are people that want to cheat.
Right.
And I say very straight.
Very plain, yes.
You know, people that don't want to work with rules is because they want to cheat. A driver that doesn't want to have an official license is because he doesn't know what he's doing. Because I will give you now a trip to Europe free, so you can go see Formula One race. If you don't have a passport, can you go out of the country?
No, you can't.
So it's the same thing. International license, or a license given by the governing body of this sport in your country, is your passport to participate, is your passport to go into events that are ruled as equal for everybody.
Yes.
So I hope this answers you.
Yeah, it does. It does to a point. And I mean, you know, you mentioned that the FIA, the local organization, is meant to give the rules for all of the different.
Yes, I don't say that all the national organizations do the job correctly, you see?
Right, right.
But when they don't do, because they are members of that, then there are ways of coaching them to do this in the right way too.
What is your view on the national organization representing the FIA actually holding their own events versus the local event promoters holding their own events? Is the national sporting organization supposed to do that? That's a question we've been getting lately.
Well, to tell you the truth, it's not very good to be the judge and the participant, or the judge and the organizer. Because if an organizer makes wrong, who is going to sanction?
Yes, really and truly, the judge is supposed to say, you need to fix this, Mr. Organizer.
If the organizer don't comply with the rules, then you take away his organizing license, or you fine him that he don't do it again.
Right.
So, you know, it's in some events, like in Formula One, there is a promoter for the event, and the ASN, which is the sporting authority of the country, is still responsible for the event.
So let's
but
say,
this is because it's a very major event.
Right.
You see? But the actual real work of an ASN is to monitor and see that all the rules are taken into account, and safety by all means also. So if you have a circuit in a country which don't comply with safety regulations, if you are the promoter, and if you have the circuit and all that, who is going to sanction you? So it's better that, even though if it comes from the same ASN, they should decide who can be promoter,
Right.
who can be a driver.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be a driver is not only to have a car and drive.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pass medical exams.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that you have suffered from epilepsy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if in English is that.
Yes, epilepsy, epileptic seizures and fits and so on, yes.
So imagine that.
In the middle of an event,
and you
you're
don't know
driving.
it, of course.
I think we actually did have one event where a driver blacked out and ran into one of the
Okay,
events.
blackout
With
can
a-
be
with a
something, but
go-kart.
that is why there's a medical commission.
Right, right.
That is why you have to have yearly checkups, you
Mhm.
see. And if you see a driver that's not looking well, you have the right to call him in and say what's happening to you,
Mhm.
and check and see if it's
okay.
Okay. It's capable of competing because it's very
Mhm.
dangerous, you know.
Yes, it is.
If you black out in a boxing match, it's no problem. You avoided that they knock you out. But if you black out in a
Race car.
or if you black out in a football game, you fall down and other players are playing, and then the referee stops the game and they take you out and they bring another one in.
Mhm.
But in a car, my friend,
Mm.
if you black out, you can kill somebody.
Mhm.
You are a very hazardous person. It happened to us many years ago. That one driver, he smoked very much,
Mhm.
but he was in good shape,
Mhm.
and he got a heart attack in the middle of the race. But fortunately, this track was very tricky and going in the mountain, and he was slow. But then we saw that this car was going on the side and then just went out. But nothing happened to him in the accident and to nobody else because he was very slow.
Okay.
But by the time they reached there, he had died because of this heart attack. Maybe if at that time we would have had a medical checkup more properly done, this would not have happened.
Okay.
So there has to be organization, of course. But the ASN should be, and I don't like to say this word, the police of the event.
Right.
If this country, which is very many educated people, don't have police, it wouldn't be so educated.
So you think it's essential that the people of the ASN be very unbiased and very objective?
Yeah, I think the
straightforward,
ASN
sort of
should
politically
provide
correct and so on?
give license training to the race directors, to the flag marshals, to everything, to see that the event is running properly according to the regulations. They could monitor also the technical things. But I really don't support that they become the organization committee.
Right.
Because then if the race director does a mistake, you are going to punish your own race director.
Yeah, so you have that conflict of interest there.
Of course.
As well as in the case of a driver.
Of course, that does not mean it cannot happen.
Right, right.
Because if you don't have sometimes the structure in your country to have people to do that, then you have to do it until you get the structure.
Okay.
Because this is also a mean of learning. Because usually in the ASNs are people with experience that have acquired working in other events, or because they were at one time drivers also, and they had participated in other countries and know how it works.
I think sometimes, like with the organizations that have made it.
Sorry, and this is also very important.
Okay.
That I am against doesn't mean does not happen.
Right.
I'm against that in the ASNs are people involved in racing also. Like being drivers, or I feel.
Yeah, they're in a management position on the club and they're still a driver.
Yeah, this happens in many countries, but I don't like this. Because there's always a conflict of interest. Even if you are a very serious person. Blood talks.
Yes, blood is thicker than water, as they say.
Yeah, because I mean, if your son is driving and they some car collides with him, then you want to kill the other driver because he did not avoid the accident, and your son was winning the race and now he lost the race. But this is racing also.
Right.
And this is why you have to have stewards and race directors with enough view to, when you see a driver that is not doing the right driving, to give him a black flag.
Right, so they can do their job properly without a problem and nobody gets mad at them and that sort of thing. Yeah.
But when you start to do something, you have to use all the resources you have. And also, if you can, bring some of these resources from other countries in the meantime that you are training yours.
Okay. I know that FIA has some resources that are available to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes,
Could you tell us a bit about those?
Well, there's programs that you can request in the FIA Institute, or and you can request that they do training, sometimes to a country itself or sometimes to a region.
Okay.
For example, in Venezuela is going to do a seminar. Maybe in a month's time. They're still waiting for the funds to get there to do it. With the Spanish Motorsport Federation. Okay. Instructors from there, which have the most experience, because Spain is a big country in motorsport, and they organize a lot of events. So they did it once in the past, and now they will do it again this year. And officials from different countries will go there to have it. Then I think Colombia had requested, or Ecuador, so they will have for this part of the South America. Okay. So maybe Trinidad will request that, and all the officials from Trinidad plus the ones of the neighboring countries like Guyana, St. Lucia, Barbados, Jamaica could do that too. Or Barbados will do it for
right, and then we can fly.
Since Barbados is working on a good track, they're looking to get
Formula 3.
It's up to Formula 3 standard, but you can race many other type of cars there.
Right. So in terms of the training, are we talking about like safety training, stewards, marshals, driving training as well? What about administrative?
It could be administrative also. Driving training is very difficult to do like that. Driving training is many countries have driving schools for race car drivers. And then, of course, when you have a facility here, the ASN can sponsor or can supervise
Right.
drivers' school.
Yeah. And then I guess we would have.
And
like,
also, of course, for
mechanics
example,
and that sort of thing.
they can bring a driver, all-time driver, or a former instructor from England, for example.
Right.
Because for the language purposes, it's more proper for you. All this can be done, and that is also why it's the Nakam FIA zone, which was all the countries I mentioned before. It's because the FIA is a world organization, and it's easier for their zone boards to arrange things for their member countries. So this is all very easy if you want to do it.
Okay. Right, so we were talking about the various types of training. One of the things I've noticed, with the organizations in Trinidad is that the ones that progress very quickly usually have a very good administrator and somebody who is not interested in being a race car driver and not interested in getting involved in winning the scene or going in a car to get a drive, but they like to organize things. And I find that is an area where we sort of deficient a little bit.
Well, I think the main problem I've seen here is that there is no union.
No?
Union,
unity.
This is, in a small country like this, like many others, if there's no unity, it's very difficult to make good things.
Yes.
I think that it's time now to put aside all these egos and gossips and past situations, and all the people that care about motorsport come together and work together. Doing that, you will see that the motorsport growth here will be much stronger and faster.
I remember the last meeting we were talking about the Mexico solution. I don't know if you want to just give us it for the record on camera, how that situation was resolved in Mexico, where you had local promoters, you had the FIA organization. I remember you were describing that it was...
Yes, well, I helped a lot in that situation at that time, because among them, even they could not understand each other, so had to come somebody from other place to fight one day with this and one day with the other, and then one was giving the others, the other side, the fault of what's happening, and the other side was doing the same thing.
Each one was blaming the other.
Yes, each one was blaming the other. So I mean, I finally could get the federation and the FIA ASN together, and so they could lie to each other in front of me. And this way, I'm just putting it. And this way, I said, well, you like motorsport? Yeah, of course. And you like motorsport? So I mean, the national federation, because in Mexico it's different, because the federation is part of the sports ministry.
Okay.
And the president of the federation is appointed by the sports ministry.
Okay.
And then there was the ASN that had the rights for motorsport, international motorsport, in Mexico. Because a long time before, the federation did both.
Okay.
But then, when the Formula One wanted to restart, the federation did not have the money nor the power to assemble all these things.
Okay.
So they look for a private institution
Right.
that was created by the people that brought back the Formula One to Mexico.
Okay.
But they really did a very good job, not only for the Formula One in Mexico, but for the future in the motorsport there, because they started sponsoring drivers. They sent drivers overseas. They did a driving school for Formula in Mexico. Even Montoya from Colombia was his first training and racing was in Mexico.
Okay,
And so
that's
did
something I
many.
didn't know.
Yes, there are many things. Many drivers, even from England, went to Mexico because if they did not get a seat in England, then they went
to Mexico
to
instead.
other country. And,
Very good.
and that is why Mexico has a very big background in motorsport.
Okay.
And they have very good trainers there, very good officials there. Like as a matter of fact, I was this past weekend, the steward of the meeting of the World Rally Championship in Argentina, and the chief medical officer of the FIA is a Mexican doctor.
Oh. All right.
A lady.
A lady?
Yes, very efficient.
Very good.
She, why? Because Mexico has a World Rally Championship event.
Yes.
And this doctor is the doctor for this event. So the FIA doctor, with the years, saw her working, and he said, I don't have to go to the America events. This lady can do the same I can do. So this is a good example of what can happen.
So tell us a little bit about their present structure and how it actually works for them. Do you think that structure can work for us here?
Yeah, because now, I mean, the federation and the international organization work together. They came so close now that the president of the federation of Mexico is the vice president of OMDAI, which is the FIA International ASN. And the president of the ASN is vice president of the federation.
So now two of them share.
They are working together like two brothers, you know.
Okay.
And this is why you see Mexico so strong in motorsport.
So the federation now is made up of all of the local promoters.
If you use the effort to fight, you cannot grow.
Right. They'll be too tired from fighting.
Yes,
and they can't
of
do
course.
the actual work.
Here there is a stupid fight with the rally club and all that. It's not working. It's not going to work ever because fighting don't give progress. So I think the National Sporting Authority should create the Rally Commission and monitor what they are doing. And the Rally Commission and the club, which would be part of the same, should understand that there is a National Sporting Authority. And what they need to be accomplished for the future, they should request the National Sporting Authority to help them. And if they work together, they will grow very fast.
Well, I think what they're looking for is sort of equal representation in some way or form. You know? So hopefully they could find
But you know something, I mean, this is ego. You understand?
Yeah.
Because in every country, in everything, there is a top authority and there is the other. So I mean, if you cannot, because you don't like the president of the National Sporting Authority, and you want to be an outlaw, you are not helping your sport. You have to be more diplomatic. You have to sit together. You have to not argue. You have to plan together.
Yes. Plan.
And then ask for the request you want And if there's something that's not possible, then you have to understand it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is the other thing is possible, then the possible thing should be done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you cannot impose things. I mean, dictators are every time less in the world, you know.
Well, I think they've been feeling a
There
sort
has
of,
to be democracy.
Yeah.
There has to be communication, and they have to be working together, like the Minister of Sports said today.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot accomplish anything if all don't come together.
Yes.
Not only in motorsport, in every sport, in everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you have stamina, if you have intentions of doing things, you have to work together. It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a family, if the family is not together, everybody by its own side, it's not going to work. Everybody will be fighting all the time. But if they work together, it's much easier.
Yes, it is. All right. What about new things? Tell us a little bit about some of the new things that are happening in FIA, and maybe something about your country as well, where you come from.
Well, you know, the FIA is focused very much because the sport in FIA is very good.
Mm.
There are ups and downs in different things, like in the World Rally Championship. After it was very strong, it lost a lot of manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's starting to work back again. Our president, Mr. Todd, since he was a big rally man in his time, and then he was a good manager in circuit racing, bringing Ferrari so many titles before stepping out. He is working very hard to make the sport better. What was not so efficient. But he is focusing very much on us in the FIA with road safety.
Right.
Because I did not tell you that before, but the FIA is not only sport. The FIA is the World Automobile Federation, not Motorsport only Federation.
Right.
And in this automobile thing, we have the sport and we have the mobility.
Right.
So you understand what is the mobility, and I'll give you a closer example. Like most of the people know what the AAA does in the United States.
Yes.
So
I think
clubs like the AAA.
We have TAA in Trinidad.
Well, I don't know them very well, so I cannot tell you what kind of work they are doing. But in some countries, most of these automobile clubs for mobility, they have insurance, they have rescue to the drivers, they have others do with the driving license, they have driving schools, they have they help the government to create the manual for driving.
I think it's with Finland. They have a really advanced drivers program.
Yes, yes.
Where you're doing to drive in the wet and in the dark and in the dirt.
Yes,
and
of course.
I mean, we don't really have those conditions in
No,
Finland,
no,
but
no,
it's
no.
still important to know how to
Yes,
do it.
but we have to teach how to dock motorcycles and dogs and all these things in the streets, you see? And donkeys sometimes too.
Sometimes, yes, and cows.
But anyway, it's a very strong campaign now for road safety.
Because it's the decade of safety. And
yes,
so
it's the FIA signed the agreement with the United Nations. It's called Decade for Action. And then this Decade for Action is involving all the motoring clubs
Right.
to help organize the governments in the roads. There are campaigns like NCAP, and there are many things going on, like buckle up and don't drink while you drive, things like that. These kind of strong campaigns have come out from there. And it is a big aim to avoid over 200,000 deaths, which are not the total amount. It's just an aim to fulfill, to avoid all these unnecessary deaths in car accidents in the road that are due mostly because of reckless driving, speaking with mobile phones, eating in the car, smoking in the car, not having your two hands on the wheel and having your mind on the street. And also bad condition of the roads, bad designs of the roads, not safety. You see, many governments, I don't say here because I cannot see here, they build a road. You know, most of these things are political. You know, they build roads to get votes.
Right.
And
they don't think about how
and then they don't put the protecting rails. They don't put the pedestrian crossing.
And then the bicycle paths.
Things like that, you know. So the FIA has a lot of technicians that are eager to support any government that they ask for support through the representative of the country, and they help in that, you know. They have very good technicians that can give advice and monitor the situation in every country to stop the death in the roads.
And put some of the
so this is part,
and to work with the country.
Of course. And the program for teaching the drivers, the new drivers, and the drivers that have many infractions. They oblige them to do courses.
Okay.
And they retain the license until they do so, and things like that. Yeah. So, FIA has a big job.
That's why you have big shoulders to carry everything. Yeah, man. All right. Any final thoughts? I think we can wrap up.
Well, what I wish is that, like I said before, they stop here to fight among each other and to work together.
Right, and then we can move forward and have a facility.
Yes.
And start and make use of it.
Yes, I applaud the support that I see is in the Minister of Tourism heart. I think he has a very good vision of what he wants for Trinidad and Tobago. And then I see the reality of the Minister of Sport, who criticized this thing, that to work together you need, to accomplish things you have to work together. Because I know, and I'm sure that he has received many comments and complaints of the clubs and this and that, you see? And this, when you see that there's no union, it cannot succeed. But he cannot be so drastic also, you see. He is not so much for growing until you are prepared to grow, but you have to start. You see?
Sometimes when you start, then
Of
things fall into
course, you
place.
cannot accomplish anything if you don't start.
Right.
You cannot say, I will make a Formula One facility without not even having a karting facility. You see, a country must be educated first and then grow, because with this growth you will grow together. Not only the fans, the marshals, the organizers, the sponsors, the everything will have to learn by steps. You cannot start a building from the roof. You see? You have to start the building from the ground.
Right.
And here we have already the ground. But then you have to keep on adding floors to the building. And I feel very confident that this visit that I'm doing now is going to be very positive. Because I see the interest of many people.
Yes. All right. I think we could